Welcome to episode 1 of the Money Habits from Around the World series. I spent the last few months testing some of the world's most fascinating money habits, from Japan's mindful Kakeibo method to Germany's cash-first culture, South Korea's Kai savings tradition, Scotland's micro-saving approach, and Netherlands' conscious spending mindset. This is my experience trying Japan's Kakeibo method for 30 days. Over the years, I've tried budgeting apps, spreadsheets, and expense trackers. They all promised to help me save more money. Most of them worked for about a week. Then life got busy. The notifications became background noise. And before long, I found myself asking the same frustrating question: where did all my money go? Then I discovered a budgeting method from Japan quietly thriving for more than 120 years. No apps, no algorithms, no AI, just a notebook, a pen, and 4 simple questions. It's called Kakeibo. For the next 30 days, I decided to put this traditional Japanese budgeting method to the test, not to see if it could make me rich overnight, but to answer a much simpler question. Could it change the way I think about money? Kakeibo was created in 1904 by Hani Motoko, one of Japan's first female journalists. The word Kakeibo roughly translates to household financial ledger. But Kakeibo isn't just about tracking expenses, it's about becoming mindful of your relationship with money. Every purchase becomes an opportunity to ask, is this really worth it? That philosophy intrigued me. So I bought a notebook, picked up a pen, and started writing. Every month begins with 4 simple questions. How much money do I have? How much would I like to save? How much am I spending? And finally, how can I improve? Simple questions. But after using Kakeibo for a month, I realized they're much harder to answer honestly than they appear. At first, writing every expense by hand felt old-fashioned. After all, budgeting apps can automatically import transactions from your bank account. They categorize expenses, generate reports, track spending in real time. So why would anyone choose pen and paper? Because writing slows you down. Instead of tapping my phone and forgetting about the purchase 5 minutes later, I had to physically write it down. That tiny pause forced me to become more intentional. I wasn't just recording expenses anymore. I was questioning them. So let me tell you about week 1. The first week was honestly the hardest. Every purchase had to be written down. Coffee, groceries, fuel, even the smallest expense. It felt slow compared to simply opening a budgeting app. More than once I wondered, is this really worth the effort? But by the end of the week, I noticed something. I was already thinking twice before buying things I didn't really need. Week 2, the second week, reminded me why consistency matters. Life got busy with family commitments. For a couple of days, I stopped recording my expenses. When I finally sat down to update my notebook, my numbers didn't add up. I was missing $120. For almost 10 minutes, I went through bank transactions, receipts, and my wallet trying to figure out where the money had gone. Eventually, I remembered. I had paid cash for the household water filter salt. That one moment taught me an important lesson. Kakeibo only works if you stay consistent. Miss a few days, and catching up becomes surprisingly difficult. Now, coming to week 3. By the 3rd week, the notebook started revealing patterns I had never really noticed before. I discovered 2 subscriptions that I was still paying for, even though I barely used either of them. Because I had been reviewing every expense instead of letting an app summarize them for me, those subscriptions finally stood out. I canceled both. Not because they were expensive, but because they no longer added value to my life. That felt like an easy win. Now moving on to week 4, the biggest change wasn't in my bank account. It was in my mindset. Before Kakeibo, I often ate out 3 or 4 times a week without thinking much about it. By the end of the month, I had naturally reduced that to just 2 meals a week. Not because Kakeibo told me to stop, not because I created a strict rule, but because every restaurant meal meant writing it down. and every time I picked up the pen, I found myself asking, is this really how I want to spend my money today? For the first time in years, I knew exactly where every dollar was going. That awareness alone changed the way I spent money. I expected Kakeibo to help me budget better. I didn't expect it to change how I thought about spending. By the end of 30 days, I knew where every dollar went. I had become much more conscious of my purchases. I canceled 2 subscriptions that I wasn't really using. I cut back significantly on eating out. And perhaps most importantly, I stopped seeing budgeting as something restrictive. Instead, it became a way of making sure my money reflected what actually mattered to me. Kakeibo isn't perfect. The biggest drawback is time, especially during the first couple of weeks. Writing everything down simply takes longer than using an app. There were also times when family responsibilities interrupted my routine. Missing just a day or two made it surprisingly difficult to reconstruct my spending later. I also experimented with paying cash for some purchases. While I appreciated how much more aware it made me of my spending, I have to admit, it felt inconvenient. We're so used to tapping a credit card or phone that carrying cash required a completely different mindset. Another limitation is that Kakeibo has no automation. Modern budgeting apps automatically import bank transactions, categorize spending, and generate reports. Kakeibo does none of that. Everything depends on you. For some people, that's exactly what makes it effective. For others, it may be a deal breaker. So, would I recommend Kakeibo? Yes. Not because it's the fastest budgeting system, and not because it's the most technologically advanced. I recommend it because it changed something far more important than my budget. It changed my awareness. I now know where every dollar goes. I pause before making purchases. And I spend more intentionally than I did just 1 month ago. Will I keep using every part of Kakeibo forever? Probably not. I'll still use technology where it makes sense. But one habit is staying with me. Before I spend money, I'll pause. Because sometimes the most valuable thing a budget gives you isn't control. It's clarity. Japan taught me to become more aware of my spending. Next in this series, I'll be sharing my experience trying Germany's smart saving method. Yes, living with cash instead of credit cards for 30 days. Will spending physical cash make it harder to waste money? Or will it simply make life more inconvenient? Check out my next video to find out. Please like, share, and subscribe for more videos like this one. Thank you for watching.